happen? Arrived a day earlier? Or if Kagaya sent someone else to the Infinity Train instead of Rengoku? Or even better, what would happen if Tanjiro was born with the Demon Slayer mark? Well, I spent months researching these topics, and here is exactly what would happen. If Giyu managed to arrive a day earlier, it would mean that he would be around the mountain when Muzan attacks the Kamado family. Since he is a Hashira, we can assume that he'd be able to sense Muzan's presence and would rush toward him as fast as he could. After getting there, Giyu wouldn't believe his eyes, as the Demon King he's been chasing for so long is finally within his grasp. He'd quickly tell the Kamados to escape while he stalled the Demon King for time. So how would this battle play out? Well, although Giyu is surely one of the strongest Hashira, he stands absolutely no chance against Muzan in a battle. He may be able to stall for a minute or two, but in the end, he would be crushed. Okay, Giyu died, but at least Tanjiro's family escaped and will be alive in this version of the story, right? Right? Well, not really. Since Muzan defeated Giyu pretty quickly, he'd catch up with the Kamados in the blink of an eye and eliminate them all as he wanted from the start. As the sun rises, Tanjiro makes his way up the mountain, and same as in the original story, he finds his family dead and Nezuko turned. He would immediately rush to find a doctor, but since Giyu is not alive to meet him at this point, what will happen to him? You see, the information about Muzan's appearance would probably reach Kagaya, who would then send all available pillars to his location. This would mean that Tanjiro, who is running down the mountain, and the Hashiras who are coming up would probably cross paths. So how would this interaction go? Well, one important thing to consider here is that since Giyu has died, the Hashiras are really angry, and as soon as they sense Nezuko, they won't hesitate to kill her. Tanjiro would try to persuade them, telling them that Nezuko is different, but they would kill her without hesitation. It's crazy to think that this little change would lead to both Nezuko and Giyu dying in episode 1. But what would happen to Tanjiro? Well, after his sister's death, he would go mad and try to attack the Hashiras. Of course, he wouldn't be able to do anything to harm them, but it would make some of the Hashiras see his potential. It's probably Shinobu that would sympathize with Tanjiro the most, as she also lost her sister to demons. She would accept Tanjiro as her Tsugoku and train him to be a demon slayer. Tanjiro would become pretty strong, easily passing the final selection and defeating many weaker demons. However, as soon as he engages Rui at Mount Natugumo, his luck would come to an end. Tanjiro stands absolutely no chance of defeating Rui without Nezuko's help, and Rui would easily deal with him using his blood demon art, Murderous Eye Basket. Okay, this scenario doesn't really have a happy ending, but you'll definitely like this next one. What if someone else was sent instead of Rengoku on the Infinity Train mission? Well, if someone weaker than Rengoku was sent, for example, Shinobu or Tengen, everything would play out pretty much the same. They would most likely save all the passengers, but in the end, they'd be killed by Akaza, same as Rengoku. So, what if Kagaya sent someone stronger like Yome, for example? How would the mission turn out then? For starters, since Yome is blind, all of his other sentences are much more developed. In my opinion, Yome would be able to sense that there is something wrong with train tickets and would not touch them. He would also tell the trio not to touch the tickets. This means that the group would avoid Enmu's trap and stay awake the whole night. As you can guess, Enmu would be furious with this development and would attack the Slayers and passengers in full force. However, since he is only a lower moon, Yome would easily keep all the passengers safe while the trio goes and decapitates Enmu. Okay, so far, everything has played out pretty much the same, but what will happen after Akaza arrives? Can the strongest Hashira do anything against him? Yome engages Akaza in combat, and they appear to be evenly matched at the beginning. Unlike Rengoku, the Stone Hashira has some really strong long-range attacks, which would help him keep his distance beyond the reach of the demon's fists. If Akaza tries to attack him with his shockwave attacks, Yome can easily deflect those using his Stone Skin technique. Now, since Yome doesn't yet have the Transparent World ability, it would be very dumb to assume that he could just keep Akaza away like this forever. Akaza is an upper moon at the end of the day, and would surely manage to get close to the Hashira at some point and injure him with his attacks. Akaza being Akaza, will probably ask Yome to become a demon, as he does with pretty much all his enemies, and the latter would obviously decline, breaking Akaza's heart. Please subscribe to make Akaza happy again. I think he would be very grateful. Eventually, with both of them heavily injured, the sun will rise and Akaza will be forced to flee. And you know what this means? Yeah, that's right. No Hashira died during this arc. This means they will all be alive for the final fight against Muzan later in the story. Just imagine if another Hashira was there during the final battle. It would be game-changing. Also, it's possible that some Slayers Muzan has defeated, like Mitsuri and Obanai, would survive in the end. Man, I really wish Kagaya sent someone stronger on this mission. The story's ending would be much happier. Alright, but did you ever think about what would happen if Doma was in the entertainment district instead of Gyutaro and Daki? If you are wondering why would he even be there, you probably missed one important piece of information in Season 3. You see, during Gyutaro's flashback, we learned that Doma loves eating girls because they are very nutritious. Because of this, he often comes to the entertainment district because it's filled with beautiful girls. So it actually makes a lot of sense for him to be there. So how would this scenario play out? The arc would start normally with Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Tanjiro disguising as girls and infiltrating 3 houses. Everything would continue as usual until Zenitsu hears a weird sound coming from one of the rooms. However, when he goes to inspect, instead of finding Daki as in the original version, he finds Doma feasting on multiple girls. Zenitsu would prepare to attack him but would freeze with fear as the demon turns his head and reveals the kanji inscription of Upper 2 in his eyes. The young demon slayer would panic and run for his life. He would shout for Tenjin and others to help him while Doma would playfully chase him down with a creepy smile on his face. As Zenitsu approaches the dead end, Doma swings his fans at him, but out of nowhere, Inosuke, Tanjiro, and Tenjin jump in and block the attack at the last moment. As the young slayers check on their friend, Tenjin notices that Doma is an upper moon, and he yells to the boys to run away from here as fast as they can. Although Zenitsu is eager to run away, Tanjiro and Inosuke stand up, letting Tenjin know they are not going anywhere. Tenjin would call them naive and stupid, telling them that this demon is way out of their league. However, the boys have already made up their minds and are ready to fight. Doma smiles as the demon slayers engage him. At first, Doma would play with them, effortlessly dodging their attacks and complementing their techniques. Knowing Doma's personality, he would probably be angry at the core for sending only male slayers to fight against him. He would ask them to please bring a female Hashira next time they fight him. This attitude would enrage the trio, and they would recklessly jump toward him. However, Doma is nowhere close to the demons they fought before and would swiftly impale all 3 of them using his wintry icicles technique, completely incapacitating them. As he smiles, he fails to notice that Tenjin is already right behind him. The Hashira swings his blades at the demon's neck, and just as it seems he'll manage to land a hit, his hands are suddenly caught by Doma's lotus vines. Before the trio can even react, Doma stabs Tenjin through his chest, fatally injuring the sound pillar. Tanjiro would stand up, furious, ready to attack Doma. However, with his last breath, Tenjin yells at him to run away, telling him that if he dies now, Rengoku's sacrifice would be for nothing. Tanjiro would get flashbacks of Rengoku telling him to live on, and would immediately snap out of his anger. He'd carry unconscious Inosuke and Zenitsu on his shoulders and run as fast as he can, while tears run down his face. Since the dawn is very close, Doma wouldn't bother chasing him and would probably yell from a distance to please bring a female pillar next time they meet. Man, Doma is so overpowered. I am really glad he wasn't around the district at that time. Okay, finally, what would happen if Tanjiro was born with the Demon Slayer mark like Yoriichi? Well, although many amazing things will happen in this version, there are actually some very bad things this would cause. Alright, let's start from the beginning. With the power of the Demon Slayer mark, we can also assume that Tanjiro will have a transparent world ability, same as Yoriichi. Since his family never taught him about demons and fighting, he'll most likely be completely clueless about his powers and would live his life as usual, selling charcoal in the village. This means that his family will eventually get killed and that he'll encounter Giyu. Due to his transparent world ability, Tanjiro would cause much more trouble for Giyu, and the latter eventually has to use water breathing to stop the boy. Seeing Tanjiro's incredible potential, Giyu would personally take him as his Sugoku and train him to become a demon slayer. Okay, here is where things start to get really good. As Tanjiro is now much stronger, he'd be able to help Rengoku and defeat Akaza using a transparent world, which means that Rengoku would survive. He'd also easily defeat Gyutaro, which means Tenjin will continue being a Hashira. By the time of Swordsmith Village, Tanjiro would already completely have mastered sun breathing and would easily kill Hantengu on his own before Mitsuri even arrives. Demon Slayer Corps would be stronger than ever, and with Tanjiro fighting alongside them, what could possibly go wrong? Well, the fact that the Corps is incredibly powerful is actually a problem in itself. You're probably a bit confused by this, so let me explain. You see, Muzan doesn't engage in battles he is not sure he can win. Remember what happened after he lost to Yoriichi? That's right, he went into hiding for dozens of years until he was absolutely sure Yoriichi was dead. So, try to put yourself in Muzan's shoes. Demon Slayer Corps is the strongest it was in a long time. Some of your upper moons were defeated for the first time in 100 years, and on top of all that, some kid appeared that can use the Demon Slayer mark, Transparent World, and sun breathing? Yeah, right. Muzan is definitely not engaging Slayers directly anytime soon. The only reason Slayers won in the original story is because he heavily underestimated them and thought he could just kill them all easily. A mistake he definitely won't make now. So, all Hashiras will remain alive in this scenario. They will kill countless demons and save countless lives, but will never find the one demon they want the most. Eventually, Tanjiro would die of old age, and the Demon King would rise from the shadows once again, and this time, there will be no one left to stop him. Click on this video where we explain what would happen if Muzan turns Yoriichi into a demon. Don't be shy, click it!